Here's the second movement of the Abel unaccompanied sonata in G major. The other movements are or will be available in other videos. We're looking at movement 2 here, the Allegro. It might look a little bit frightening on the page, but actually generally it fits very nicely under the fingers. There's one little bit in the middle that's just a little bit awkward. Some nippy string crossing, but nothing too ridiculous. And it's a fantastically resonant sounding piece. So right at the beginning, let's make the most of that. With open top strings in between each of these chords. Because then you've got three strings sounding. I wouldn't play them with fours, it just loses so much of the character, I think. When you've played the chords, really important that you don't let them go because you're busy thinking, oh, I need to find the next one. Because the resonance will just disappear. So hold the chord down until you need to play the next one. And in the second bar, make sure you get all the way to that top G before you think about what's coming next. All together, and then when there's a long way to go, if you play things really smooth, you're going to catch lots of extra strings on the way, and you're also just going to undo that lively character. Even if you don't play this at 100 miles an hour, you can make it sound really lively by shortening things like that. If you play them long, it just sort of glues things to the ground. Let's do the beginning. Just the first 4 bars or so, not too quick. So we'll try 1 and 2. So far so good. So top string. There's plenty of time in here to pick out the bass notes. But you have to play them, once you've found them, really quite short and rely on the resonance of the string to get yourself back up here. But don't feel like you're in a rush to it's just there's time to spell out the harmony. Here's the F sharp, and here's an E, and there's an F sharp again. So just don't let yourself feel like you're in a rush through there. As you come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bar 5, I think the F sharp at the start of that bar is the end of this, and then you can take just a fraction of time to appreciate the view from the top of there. Nice weighted appoggiatura at the start of that. Got to be a full finger, hasn't it? Even though that one was an open string, got to be a full finger. Let's play from the top, nice and steady. 1 and 2. Should we do it a tiny bit quicker? 1 and 2. I can hear so many strings still sounding. It's a great key for that. Let's go on. So here again I would go for the top string and open strings here. The feature of it is the string crossing rather than, yes of course you could use a 4, but where's the fun in that? The whole point of this bit is to get the string crossing, the energy of it and the resonance of it. Really important, once again, that you keep fingers down at the bottom, so don't take that F sharp off. How much length of bow are you A, going to need, and B, going to get away with in here? If you use too much lengthwise, it gets really hard to control. If you use nothing, there's no way of sort of shaping it. So you've got to find one that allows the string, each string, to speak. But doesn't get too ungainly. So experiment a bit with that. And the other thing to experiment with is how far away are these strings actually from each other? Are you going to end up moving this arm like a windmill? Or actually, are those strings so close together that it is possible to play all 3 of them at the same time? It is possible to play all 3 of them at the same time. So if you find yourself moving miles between the 3rd string and the top string, you are definitely working too hard, because it is possible to play the top and the bottom of those 3 strings at the same time as each other. So there's no way a massive movement here is needed to get between them. So if you find this arm flapping about like nothing on earth, you're definitely working too hard. So just do it slowly and keep an eye on how far this is going. Don't let yourself work too hard with it. I think also, loads of things to think about in here. Each note that changes is on the bottom string, whereas when you come back to the A string, it's the same string each time, isn't it? So you're changing, but this one is the same each time. So I'm more interested, I think, in the lower note than I am in the A string. So you've got to watch that you don't end up with just too much of that. I know that's there, it's there every time. What I want to hear is a slight emphasis on the lower part. Not so that you feel seasick, but just in terms of, I don't think it should be 2 equal lines. I don't think that bottom part should be of equal weight and equal volume to the A string. So let's just have a play about with that. I'll count you into that passage. We'll do it nice and slowly, because I've just given you a whole list of things to think about. Not going too far with this arm, not using too much bow this way, and not playing everything at an equal weight. So we won't go too quick. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 1. Nice long appoggiatura. And throw these away. Shall we do that again? The same kind of speed. Here we go. 1 and 2. quicker. Same thing, just a little bit quicker. Don't panic, very, very relaxed with this hand, not working too hard. 1 and 2 and 1. Are you still keeping your fingers down with your left hand, or as it gets quicker, are you just flapping everything down, off as soon as you've played it, just because you want to make sure that you're clear and ready for the next thing? Left hand staying down, right hand staying very relaxed. Same thing, same speed. 1 and 2. Here comes the top. Are you ready? From the beginning. 1 and 2. Should try to do it quicker. It's just a bit on the slow side, isn't it? Let's speed it up just a little bit. 1 and 2. Let's go on. This is the same pattern as the top, isn't it? But just at a different pitch. Should we stop there a second? Fingering at the beginning of this. 2 and 3 for the D and the F sharp. So you've got your 1 left to play the C sharp with. And like we said at the beginning, don't take the chords off as soon as you've played them, because they'll just stop dead. You need to leave your fingers on them absolutely until the last minute. I play that with a 4, so after these chords, fine to be on the top string, so you've got the whole chord outlined. But then here, let's move to first position and put a 4 on this. How tidily can you get from that C up to the top E? So it's, I think, you've got to get there, but somehow it's more difficult to get back again. I think people get there and then they play a long note because they're pleased to see it, and then you hear all the strings in between on the way back up to the top. So just be quick about it. Yeah, really resonant. It's an open string, it'll be fine. Lots of time to get back to the top. Don't play that top note till you're absolutely sure that you're on your top string. Same goes for there. Left hand makes that note last for absolutely ages. Meanwhile, your bow has loads of time to cross up here. I find it easiest to put a 3 on the C after that big leap. Find it a bit of a stretch to reach the 2, and you need to use your 2 for the B, don't you? 2 on the D sharp, 1 barred across the top of that chord. It's quite nippy, this section. Let's just do it slowly from the double bar. So you're in half position, 2 on the D, 3 on the F sharp. And you're going to rely on your left hand for resonance and your right hand for shortness of articulation. Second section, 1 and 2. Should we do that once more? Same kind of speed. All the time thinking about leaving this hand down as much as possible and being as tidy as you can with this. Here we go. 1 and 2. Let's look at this next bit. It's the most awkward bit of fingering, just this one bar. You need every single finger you've got. So we've just played that chord with a bar across the B and the F sharp at the top. Don't move at the end of it. Leave the bar where it is. And you're going to play the next chord with 3 and 4 for the E and the G, which might seem slightly odd because we've got the second finger left, but we're going to need it for the D sharp in that chord, and the 1 hasn't moved, it's still there, it's still barring the B and the F sharp. Is what I would practice. Just getting your brain around 3 and 4, 2 for the D sharp at the bottom. That is really the only fingering I think for that bit, and it's just a bit squashed, and it takes good dexterity with your 4th finger to be double stopping with it really accurately. But that is the fingering. Bar you all the way through that next bar onto the top string, as well as where it's been on the B and the F sharp. And the phrasing in here, what we've done before is that we've had, and then we've made the next quaver belong to the next thing, but in here I think it's slightly different. I think this longer thought, where the G at the top, I wouldn't get rid of it. It's such a harmonic thing that you're spelling out. I think you really need to steer through that. There's not much choice about fingering in here. While you're playing the top G, open string and move your 4 back for the F sharp, and then you've got the B and the D sharp, and repeat it. This is easier. That's a bit of a relief, isn't it, after that bit? Let's do it. I don't have bar numbers in my edition, which is silly. So we're going to go in the second section after you've played that 3-note B major chord, and we're about to start that. So we'll go from the quaver at the end of that bar, and we'll go nice and steady. 1 and 2. a sigh of relief because you've seen this before. Until here. This is just about remembering which string you're aiming for and being absolutely sure how many strings away it is from the string that you're currently playing. Some of them are a long way, but some of them are really surprisingly close, and you've just got to be really certain where you're aiming for. So the beginning of this is like the beginning of the movement. Now here, just practice doing that without hearing everything on the way. And then stick another note on. So I'm doing the F natural, down to the C, and back up to the E. So build it up. You're adding one extra leap at a time. So practice that one, and then practice. Make sure you can be really clean around all of it. Then this one, they're on adjacent strings. They look like they're a long way away, but this one is the one that's genuinely further. So again, practice going from the top G down to the D at the bottom, and when you're happy, add an extra note. And when you're happy with that, go on. It's a whole string closer than the one before it was. Not as far as you think. And if you play this next D with a 4, they're on adjacent strings. So this is what I mean by be really certain how far you've got to go. If you're not quite sure how many strings you need to cross, that's when we're going to get to hear lots of extra things on the way. Not just because you're catching them on your way to places, but because you're playing 2 at a time because you haven't quite decided which is the one that you're aiming for. So do it slowly and do mess about with the rhythm. Anything that just gets you kind of dexterously round that little bit and teaches you exactly how far apart each of those strings are. You haven't got long to play those bass notes. So if you use too much bow, you're buying yourself into all sorts of trouble. So tiny, tiny, tiny bit of bow. More time spent moving, I think, than spent playing. Let's do that section really slowly. So we'll start at the recap, but nice and steady, so we've got time to get around that hoppy bit that's coming up. Here we go. 1 and 2. I think one of the difficulties in that section is that it's quite comforting to look occasionally at where some of the lower strings are that you're aiming for. But the problem with that is that you look back at the page, and depending on what edition you've got, there are changes of clef, there are lots of awkward leaps with notes with beams going in all over the place, and it's really easy to just lose your place on the page. So it would actually be worth, I think, just memorising 2 bars, or even if you don't memorise the whole thing, knowing the order in which your bass notes appear. So you just not taking any risks when you look down, if you look down, and you look back and you think, oh gosh, I don't know where I am on the page. You think, I've just got to know the order in which you're going to attack those strings. So I think it's worth just memorising 2 bars of it, or don't look down. Let's try it again together. 1 and 2. Hang on. It's exactly the same pattern we've had before with that section, isn't it? Absolutely cross the string. Feature the bottom note slightly more than the top string. Lots of direction in those. And then really short. Possibly a trill if you fancy. Just to finish things off. But most importantly, don't try and play those really smooth. You'll lose all of the energy and you'll catch loads of extra strings on the way. Why don't we do the whole of the second half? Just at a nice sensible speed. The whole of the second half from the double bar. 1 and 2. You can tell which bits just need a little bit of time spending on them. So spend a bit of time in the bars that you know are going to cause you problems. Do them slowly, mess up the rhythm, do anything you like with them, just to make you familiar with the bars that you know are going to cause trouble. Because there are other bars that are just going to roll really nicely. And it would be great if the whole thing could go at that lively allegro speed. So shall we try it together? From the top, both repeats, a little bit quicker. Here we go. 1 and 2.